Hello and welcome to a Kata 2 Wheels instructional video. Today I will be putting the brake caliper mount and new set of pads, well, an old set of pads back into this brake caliper. This is on a 2016 to 2020 Suzuki sv650. So yeah, one thing you will notice with this, while I've got the pads out of it, give the pistons a quick scrub and a clean. Make sure any other grime and grit on any surfaces has been removed. You can do this the easiest way. Thing of water, warm water, and an old toothbrush. That always does the trick. Now, first thing, putting your brake caliper mount back in. As that slides into the mounts, it's always a good idea to re-grease the 2 points, just to make sure, give them a good clean and grease them just so nothing can get in there. And the end of these little rubber sleeves, make sure they have both clipped onto the caliper. You'll see on another mount here, there's a bit of a lip for it to go around. Just make sure that it has gone around that lip and that it is a sealed unit. Just like that, you hear a bit of a pop pop. They're all on nice and freely moving. Right. First things first. First brake pad. That lines up. Got a locator and another locator there to hold it in place. That just pops in, easy as. Give it a bit of a push back if you need to. But otherwise that'll just sit nicely in there. Your inner brake pad, that will hang on that bracket and just slot down into place. Now, on the opposite end of the caliper, you have a pin that goes through. If you notice, I don't know how good the camera is, there's a little hole in there. There's a pin that will go through there to hold it all in place, stop it from falling apart. Slide that through both of your brake pads, push them back. Again, the more room you've got there, the better before you start trying to put it back onto your rotor. If you leave them, a bit skew-width, they may not slide on as easily as they should. While I'm here, I'll move that just to the side, line up that little hole, and you've got your little clip there. In getting that out of the caliper, I've found the easiest way to do that is with a small flathead screwdriver, and just open it up as you're trying to pull it out. Same thing when you're popping it back in. Sometimes you will notice that the clip will be a bit stiff trying to push it in or pull it out. Trying to push it in, apply a little bit of force on the clip itself and pry it open with a, I've found, flathead screwdriver, perfect for the job. Do it in 2 seconds. Right, so that's all back together. Again, make sure that you have greased the pins that go into the caliper, and also on that bolt as well. It doesn't attach to anything, it's literally just a slide in, so if it has got a little bit of grease on it, it will just prevent it from corroding and make it a bit easier in the future. Righty. Bit hard trying to do this from the side. Go, line those up. You've got two 14mm bolts. I always prefer to wind these in by hand, just easier I suppose, rather than swinging on a ratchet or a spanner, depending on what your tools are. Just wiggle the caliper a little bit to get it into place. General trick with torquing these, ideally you want to have the front wheel unloaded and testing the brake, spinning the wheel, testing the brake. I will go over that and do that shortly, but but just for now, straight on there, support the end of your ratchet while you're cracking on it, same thing. Now, this is actually a brake caliper, still a bit dribbly. This is a brake caliper off a 90, I believe a 96 or 97 Suzuki Bandit 600. Funnily enough, calipers haven't actually changed. They still use the same mounting bracket as in the current models. You always get people mentioning that they have their preferred motorcycle, whatever it may be. People always refer to Suzuki's as being a cheap bike. This caliper is not actually as smooth as the current one, but same thing. Pops it on, make sure those rubber seals are up. These are pretty tatty, these seals, so they don't move on as easily. It's on there. It's on there. But yeah, it surprises me that Suzuki have been using basically an identical brake caliper for more or less 25 years. I suppose why change it if it ain't broken? The brakes on these bikes are adequate for what they do. The Bandit is a much heavier motorcycle and they're still running the same ones. So same thing, pop your caliper in, make sure that those two pins on the caliper itself are lined up with your pad, otherwise you're just going to have a nightmare and you won't be able to put the caliper back on your bike. So slip it in, push it back. The back plate on this is spring loaded, so it will keep pressure on the pads themselves to help them from falling out. Grab your other brake pad. Again, pretty simple. You've always got the faces facing towards each other. Slide it onto that bit there. That'll swing down. Same thing. Pull that away. Get your pin. That won't line up. You have to push down on the pad a little bit because, like I say, the back plate in the caliper is spring loaded. Push down, push up. However it wants to line up. It's going to go down as well. Where's the pinhole? Pinhole's up top. Same thing, same clip. Can't see what I'm bloody doing. That clip's a lot more snug in there. Ideally, if that hole is facing sort of on a more of an outward angle, you'll find it a lot easier to get the clip on, because trying to push directly down on it is often not the most convenient thing. There we go, clips in. If it doesn't want to push in, again, like I said before, you can get a screwdriver in there, pry it open a bit, or be lazy and just whack on the end of it and it will pop in there on its own. So, having them facing straight into the caliper, perfect. Again, pull your pads apart. If you need to, compress the pistons a little bit to help out. But otherwise, yeah, all is good. Chuck them on, mount them up, job done.